And I don't think we can just pin it on one player.
This is Sheila Johnson, co-owner of the Washington Mystics, reacting to Indiana Fever rookie Caitlin Clark being named Time Athlete of the Year and gracing the cover of the magazine.
I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition that they should have. And I think right now, it is time for that to happen. So last night, we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said, the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have?
That is quite a take. It's giving Dr. Jill Biden vibes, if you know what I mean.
As she celebrated LSU's victory over Iowa, Dr. Jill suggested both teams come to the White House.
So I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So, we'll have LSU come. But you know what? I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game.
Problem is, that's never been done before.
Now, more from Johnson.
Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA, and I don't want to hear that. We have got to operate and become stronger as a league and respect everybody that's playing and their talents.
I understand what she's trying to do. I really do. But I just respectfully disagree. Let's take her team, just as an example. To cater to Clark and the high demand for tickets, the Washington Mystics would move their games from their usual 4,200-seat arena to Capital One Arena, which holds around some 20,000 people. Per Basketball Reference, Clark was the most viewed WNBA player on their website in not just one state or two states, not even, where she played collegiately and where she's from, Iowa, or where she plays professionally now in Indiana, but all 50 states. It needs to be stated, okay? The WNBA was on this path. Caitlin Clark just accelerated it.
Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw.
Yeah.
She brings in all the things. We know this. We've said this. And yes, the games where she's not playing have lower viewership. But in the WNBA playoffs, and we'll use the semifinals as the example, the WNBA playoff semifinal games where Caitlin obviously is not in it because her team lost are still breaking records from previous WNBA years, are still cracking 1 million viewers.
And let one of the greatest hoopers in WNBA history, Sue Bird, spell it out for you.
Now, the reason why it really, really gets my blood boiling is because it's the exact same thing we see in every other sport. When, I'm going to go on a limb here, but when Messi plays, something tells me the viewership's higher.
Ticket sales are up.
But we're going to use basketball. This last year, the Celtics and the Mavs were in the finals. That viewership was amazing. It was like 5 point whatever million. Amazing. Lower than the previous years. Lower than when LeBron's in it. Lower than when Steph Curry's in it. Why? And yet, we don't hear anyone on the Celtics and the Mavs. That is not how this works. It's because there's some players that are just so transcendent that the viewership's going to be insane no matter what.
Great.
And it has nothing to do with the other players, the other teams. And that's the part that I'm really understanding.
To piggyback off of that, per the Washington Post, Clark, who is 22 years of age, clearly took the WNBA to new heights by every important business metric. They list attendance, television ratings, merchandise sales, and social media engagement. And to Johnson's point about why not put the whole WNBA as a league on the cover, Time tried that already when the United States women's national soccer team won the World Cup, and they received a ton of backlash because the title of the award is Athlete of the Year, not plural, nor League of the year. Meanwhile, Lexi Brown of the Los Angeles Sparks saw Johnson's comments and tweeted her responses from her private account on Twitter, saying that after having to move her team's games to a bigger arena when they played the Fever is absolutely insane, she wrote, adding, "Can we please stop taking steps backwards?" She also didn't even mention her own stellar rookie, just unserious. Brown would go on to say, "So much negative discourse and non-basketball topics. Can't wait to change that, and who can disagree with her?" Johnson's comments have not just ruffled the feathers of fans, but clearly some in the league as well.
The WNBA is at an inflection point where we're starting to really go up. And I don't want us to lose that momentum. What is happening now is perfect. But as I've also told many, many of our players, I said, this is just the canary in the coal mine. We have got to be careful because we're now entering into a new political climate. We do not want to draw attention to ourselves in a negative way, to have anybody use it as ammunition against us as athletes.
What I found to be interesting, timing-wise, was this. An account that appears to be run by Caitlin Clark's brother retweeted a tweet from Front Office Sports that goes all the way back to September 19th. And that tweet read, a record 20,711 fans were in attendance for the Indiana Fever Washington Mystics tonight, the largest crowd in WNBA history. A subtle shot? Maybe. Personally, I think so. On the very same airwaves of CNN, we have discussed reporter, journalist, writer Christine Brennan and how many within the league were taken aback and displeased with her line of questioning at Dejanay Carrington when there was an unintentional eye poke that Carrington had on Caitlin Clark. If you want to see those clips, check it out on demand. Brennan, though, had this to say in response to the Mystics co-owner going on CNN and stating what she did. Here's that.
I have no idea why she said what she said. It is of course, the player, the athlete of the year, and it's not the league of the year or the team of the year. Caitlin Clark deserves that. There's no doubt that Caitlin Clark, the impact that she had on the league was extraordinary. I understand the issues, and I understand the issue she's getting at. But why she chose that, where Caitlin has these great answers in the Time magazine piece, she talks about her adoration for and respect for the role models of black women, the 70% black league. She grew up idolizing Maya Moore.
In closing, here's what I say. I want to go back to something very quickly, and that is the WNBA was already a very good product. It was already improving year over year, and the numbers lay bare at this reality. I do not believe what Sheila Johnson is doing is helpful in the slightest. I just don't. I think when she tries to paint this picture of, well, some people are just going to hold it against her. First off, if they do that, then that's fine. They're entitled to it. We can have a discussion on whether it's accurate or not. But, you know, and then she tried blaming the media, which is just such it's such low-hanging fruit. But what really gets me is, how would you fit the whole WNBA in the photo? Or would you just put the WNBA logo? I think what we need to realize is, once again, the popularity of the league was already growing without Caitlin Clark being there. She just made it reach new heights a lot quicker. And there are some who will disagree and say, you know, maybe it was Simone Biles. I think Elle Duncan's argument, I align with that. That if it wasn't Caitlin Clark, probably would have been Simone Biles. But to see the success that they have had, and for Sheila Johnson, if we're being brutally honest here, to benefit financially, not just from the gate when it comes to the WNBA, but her own team moving those games to Capital One Arena. It's laughable. And I find myself questioning, number one, why say this? You know, like, there's so many things we don't hear in the boardroom. Like, I appreciate it because we now know how she truly feels, but why say this publicly when you could just keep it in the boardroom? And secondly, it truly does feel like those who are higher ups within the league office, or even, you know, mega millionaires like Sheila Johnson, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, are they trying to ruin the product for basketball fans everywhere? Engelbert's comments about, you know, making the similarity to the Great White Hope and Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird and all that stuff in the face of actual racism that the players were facing from fans of the league was a preposterous statement. But now we have so many dominoes falling. And I question, like, do y'all not want this league to succeed? Do you guys want more people to be turned off by it? Because that's what you're doing. You're alienating your own fan base that you've added. So I question where these conversations are coming from and why they are so comfortable having them on a mainstream network like this. I'd love to continue the conversation, though. Leave a thought in the comments section below. I'll meet you there.